Welcome back, family. Pray everybody's been good. Very interesting story has come across the desk today. Um, Breaking: President-elect Trump nominates Dr. Oz to serve as the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services administrator in January. Dr. Oz will work closely with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to take on the illness, industrial complex, and all the horrible chronic diseases left in its wake, Trump said in a statement. But here's the thing, right? This was Oprah's buddy. This was Oprah's buddy. This was another person talking about it's okay for children to change their gender, right? But here's what I want to show you, because the switch up is real. The switch up is real. When he was Oprah's buddy, he was on something else. Now he's on something completely different. I want to show you what he was on prior. First, I'm going to show you a video, and then I'm going to show you what he's saying now about how all this trans stuff is based on false science. His words, his words. But I just want to show you the switch up. Let's show you the video first, what he was on when he was Oprah's friend. Now, then we're going to show you the video what he's on now that he's a cabinet pick for Trump. The switch up is real, people. The switch up is real. Check this video out.
We're living with that very question every day. Vanessa's here with her daughter, Josie. Welcome to the show. Vanessa, your husband, Joseph's in the military. He's not able to join us today.
Correct.
You know, early on, you probably had a sense that Josie was different. And when did you recognize that Josie was transgender?
It was during a regular well baby exam. The pediatrician was looking at her. He got really quiet and just sort of watched her for a while. And he brought up a term, gender identity disorder. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, what's that? He said, you know, like transgender. I was like, could you spell that for me? I had no idea what he was saying.
That's when you learned about it.
That is.
How are you, Josie?
Good.
She has a lot of spark to her, I gotta say.
She does indeed.
Do you remember when your parents thought you were a boy?
A little bit.
Talk to me about that a little bit. What do you remember?
Like, how did it make you feel when I used to take you and get your hair cut off at the barbershop on base?
It made me very angry.
Mm-hmm. You did not like your haircut. Why not?
Because I'm a girl, not a boy.
Yeah.
How do you do the basic things? I mean, how do you decide how to dress Josie? How do you decide how to talk to people about what's going on?
Right. Yeah, oh, those are great questions, and they were really big struggles for us. I had no idea. Here I am trying to put her into, you know, the little G.I. Joe outfits to go to school like all the other little boys on base, and she was fighting me and crying and having fits and demanding that she'd wear the pink leggings and the denim little skirts that she wanted to wear. When we'd go to the stores, she'd go to that, gravitate towards the girls section, not the little boys section that I wanted to put on her. And here on TIFA, on their website, there are other parents allowing their children to do this, allowing their children to match the outside of their body to be congruent to who they are inside. It was a new concept to me.
Well, thank you very much. Dr. Robert Garofalo is joining us today. He's an expert in this area. He's a pediatrician at Howard Brown Health Center and Children's Memorial Hospital in Chicago. Treats a lot of transgender kids and teens. So this story is not foreign to you. You deal with it in your practice all the time. What I would like to have everyone really understand crisply is the difference between transgender, which I guess the criteria is and the term that was used, and Vanessa used it herself, as gender identity disorder. Just explain that for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some controversy in the community about whether to use the term disorder, first of all, because I think many people are more comfortable with the term condition, because, as Josie put it, this is who she is. You know, she's a girl. You know, so the criteria become really important in terms of just making sure that, you know, there is some discordance or discomfort with the gender that she was assigned at birth. That's probably the most important thing.
So just so I'm clear on this, and I think it'll help the audience as well. So it's not so much who you like, it's who you think you are.
Right. You know, sexual orientation is, like you said, you know, who you're attracted to, whereas gender identity disorder is who these people are.
And the second criteria is you don't like your gender. You don't like your genitalia. You don't like the clothes. Correct. You don't like doing the things that you normally would want to do if you were that gender.
Yeah, and it can be pretty extreme. I've had a patient present who has sort of self-injured, has cut their penis because they've been so uncomfortable with the anatomy that they were born with.
And the third criteria is the duration of the transgender feelings. And how do you know for sure that Chelsea is not just going through a phase?
Once we allowed her to express herself authentically, once we allowed her to live in her normal role without trying to force her into a mold that didn't fit her, then she just blossomed. She took 17 doses of medication a day, 14 different medications to try and get her to fit into this mold for depression, anxiety, ADHD. She was, Tourette's went in there at the end, just all kinds of things, just to try and get her to fit into this. And all of those medications went away, every single one. She is on no medications now. You see her, she can't stop smiling and giggling, and she's just a happy little girl that wasn't her.
But as a parent's got to make a lot of decisions about their kids. Sometimes these decisions, especially if you've got a transgender child, become huge as they approach puberty. And so I'd love to understand a little bit more about how you think through this process. And by the way, doctors now can pause puberty, which is another point of controversy. So let me just show an animation so everyone understands what we're talking about. When you're a child growing up, you have hormones, and they're released from the hypothalamus, which is down here in the middle of the brain, and it stimulates the pituitary gland to release chemicals. Notice how it's rhythmic and it's pulsing, stimulating. Now, those hormones come down, and if it's a female child, they'll stimulate the ovaries down here and the uterus and other female organs, endocrine organs, to secrete hormones. But you can give a chemical that actually mimics what would happen is if this part of the brain was constantly releasing a high dose of that hormone, which actually inhibits the pituitary gland from doing what it normally does. And for that reason, you can actually hold back on what normally would happen as a child matures. And when the child, therefore, doesn't grow breast buds and develop hair at the right time, you can actually stall. You can delay the deep voice that a boy might get. Biological girls won't get the curvy hips. They won't get menstruation. Dr. Garofalo, this is a question that I'm sure your specialty struggles with all the time. How do you advise parents about whether to take this medication or not?
I think this is a really difficult decision, and my job as a pediatrician is to tell families what we know and what we don't know. But the reality is we don't necessarily know the long-term consequences of taking these medications.
Thank you.
Yeah, the long-term consequences can be somebody just going through a phase when they're a baby. Crazy how you got people like Mr. Oz at that time and different doctors who were completely brainwashing different parents to reward their child for a phase they may have been going through. That's why I be saying things about Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union. These people are famous individuals, and they are leading other people to do the same thing they're doing. Crazy. Now, let's show a clip of what he's on now since he became a cabinet pick. First of all, let's show that he's, one of the picks.
We have some breaking news, a new nomination from the president-elect. He wants Dr. Mehmet Oz to be the CMS administrator. He is saying in a statement, the president-elect, that Dr. Oz will work closely with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to take on the illness industrial complex and all of the horrible chronic diseases left in its wake. We know Dr. Oz spends a good amount of time here in Palm Beach, close to Mar-a-Lago.
Now, I seen that and I was like, that's interesting. Very interesting. Because this was the same person who was, for the whole, if you're a girl, even though you're a 7-year-old boy, then you're a girl type stuff, right? So I wanted to see, well, what is he talking about now? Because I knew what he was on before. I knew the nonsense he was on before. What is he on now? Look at this video, y'all. Look at what we found.
We did obviously an entire show about this.
Look at what we found. Very, very interesting indeed.
You did obviously an entire show about this. Obviously, you said that you did shows on views that need to be expressed. So let's move beyond that for a moment. You're now running for U.S. Senate. What about theory, not the theory, excuse me, but the legislation that's actually out there. Do you support the view that there should be a ban on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, physical sex change surgeries for children under 18? Where do you stand on that?
My big issue with the whole transgender movement with kids is it's based on false science. Let me give you a number that's going to blow your mind, David. 85% of young children who say they're transgender will go back to their biologic sex if they're just loved and let be. Johnny will walk around in mommy's shoes for a while, and then he'll figure it out and go back to the way he was biologically conceived. And that's an important observation, because the opposite happens when you interfere with the process, endorse, embrace. You get social workers and nurses involved. You start offering medications and more permanent treatments, which I think don't have a role to play in young children, because they can't actually be involved in the decision as much as you may think. The fact that we've censored thought here and not allowed people who have expertise in the area to be heard, in fact, quite the opposite, they get censored and canceled for voicing their opinions, is shameful. It's the same kind of process that occurred when Fauci went after scientists who didn't agree with his mandates. When you mix politics and medicine, you get politics. We cannot hurt our children by doing that again.
Right. Are you for a ban, though, on puberty blockers, or you're saying you want to take a wait-and-see approach?
Well, I would not. I want a doctor to make a decision with the patient, but I'm very dubious of giving young children puberty blockers, surgery, or anything else. I mean, I can't imagine scenarios where that would be welcome. But I don't want to interfere with doctors and parents working together. Okay. This is a kind of issue, as a physician, I feel very strongly about. This is a precious covenant that we have there.
You bet. On abortion.
Interesting. The switch up is real, ladies and gentlemen. We seen what he was on when, he had these close relationships. I don't know where they stand now, but if Oprah is somebody who's saying she does not like Donald at all, and Dr. Oz is somebody who was coming on the team, I don't see how these two can be still, two peas in a pot. I just don't see it happening unless they're just cordial individuals. That would make sense. You should not be able to talk to somebody because of their political stance. I don't believe in that either. But, some people are like, yo, you did this. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to speak to you. But clearly what we do see is the switch up. Clearly what we do see is him having different opinions on the matter, him believing strongly against giving children blockers, shots, anything that's going to mess with their hormones. He's clearly against that now, and he wasn't before. There happened to be a switch up. We see that, there needs to be more switch ups. Hallelujah. More switch ups to come back into just allowing kids to be kids instead of trying to transform these kids into something that they think they are. Some kids think they're dinosaurs. You know what I mean? Some kids think they're dogs and cats. You gonna buy them kitty litter in a doghouse? Highly doubt it. So let kids be kids, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you guys think on the matter. Love y'all. God bless. Shalom.